Hello and welcome to Season 10, Episode 3 of the Data Governance Podcast. And if you were listening last week, you will remember that we are now in a mini series within the season, but that's being sponsored by ER Studio, and we're looking at all things data products. So if you missed last week's episode, I would really recommend that you go back and listen to Episode 2 of Season 10, because in that one, Jamie Knowles of ER Studio and I discuss the basics of what data products are and why they are valuable to businesses. And this week, we really want to focus on actually how do we make data products happen. So we've got Jamie back again, and we're also joined by the amazing Thibaut Collette from Collibra. So let's dive in and discuss more of the practicalities about what we actually do to make data products happen. Today's episode is brought to you by ER Studio, the trusted name in data modelling. Just like building a home, managing data architecture is impossible without a blueprint. ER Studio is your guide to clarity, collaboration and compliance. Built for data professionals, ER Studio provides the essential tools to visualise, document and manage your enterprise data. Visit erstudio.com to learn more how ER Studio integrates all your source systems, ensures governance at every level, streamlines data sharing across your organisation, and even automatically converts your logical data models into physical models. So, hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Data Governance Podcast. And I'm really thrilled that today is the second one in the mini-series within this season where we're talking about all things data product. So anybody that tuned in last week will know Jamie Knowles, the product director at ER Studio and guru on all things data products. But so last week we were talking about what a data product was, but we wanted to really dive into actually what happens and when we actually deliver these products, so data product delivery. And we've invited the lovely Thibaut Collette along from Collibra to help us explore that. So Thibaut is responsible for the product strategy of data consumption at Collibra. So, Thibaut, I think this is fascinating. You co-founded Huspri, a data notebook that was later sold to Collibra, hence where you are. And I only met Thibaut just before we started recording this, but I'm already think he's a great chap because he believes that strong governance is is absolutely key to proper data usage. So, welcome to the podcast, both Jamie and Thibaut.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
So, it's Data products are such a hot topic these days. And as I mentioned in the intro, it's, we've covered the what it is, and hopefully my listeners are now familiar about what they are and why they can be so useful. But I think just understanding what something is isn't really helpful. We need to be more practical about how do we actually make this happen. And I know Jamie likes to call it data product delivery. So I'm going to put you on the spot, Thibaut, and ask you, what is Collibra doing to support data product delivery?
I think what we're trying to do is trying to make sure that we can guide companies, we can guide all the people working on data products to go from that ideation phase to the actual delivery of the data product. And this is what we call internally data product lifecycle management. How we can get users to go from one stage to the other to the next one in a nicely fashion. When I say that, is like how I define the assessments and the conditions through which I can go from ideation to design phase, where maybe at that point I would actually need to go have data architect coming into the project, helping me design the data product, and then actually building that into the data warehouses. The end goal is about data consumption. So it's about making sure that I have all the pieces ready to actually publish this data product, making that available. Obviously, later I have monitoring of that data product, and maybe at some point I have the decommissioning of it. But really, it's how we can help in all those phases of the life cycle, all the personas working around data products.
Wow. So that sounds really useful because you're looking at the whole thing, making sure that people come up with the right ideas for products all the way through to actually making it happen and monitoring. So I think that's that sounds really valuable because I think perhaps that's something that Jamie and I were talking about after we recorded last week's podcast is that, actually making it happen is harder than actually understanding what it is that you want to try and deliver. So that sounds like a really good end-to-end process. So why do you think this kind of process suits some companies? Because we know that not every approach suits every culture, but why do you think this works for companies?
I I think for quite some time we did apply some pressure for data governance or data offices teams that are centralized to go and find the end business case for all the business use cases inside the company. But I mean, if I have a company big enough, it's like a task that is nearly impossible. Data products is, I mean, and created around the data mesh topics, but then scaled out. I think to other architectures, it's about trying to find out, okay, those are this is the definition of my data product internally for my company. Those are the guidelines through which we collectively decide that we will be able to publish on the marketplace so others can use. And by splitting this into smaller pieces, there is one team responsible for the guidelines, then one team responsible for the actual discovery, build, and publishing. Then we make consumption way, way easier. And I think it suits many, many different architectures, many different companies. And this is why data product at the moment is like maybe a hot topic, sometimes a buzzword, but I do really think that it actually helps by splitting the concerns into different pieces.
I like the sound of that because I've never liked this idea that the data governance team are going to do everything for you. And how can we deliver a useful data product if just somebody centrally goes, oh, I know, let's create this. And I love the idea of making it easy to get the right people doing the right things along the journey. So that's really interesting, Thibaut. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, Jamie, because you're obviously sitting there relaxing and not answering. So anybody who's listened to conversations with Jamie and I in the past will know that Jamie is very passionate about the value of data architecture, and clearly it has a part to play. You were mentioning data architects, Thibaut. So I want to kind of ask you, Jamie, do you want to elaborate more on how data architects fit into the process that Thibaut was just describing?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with a sort of collaboration of different people and teams. So the great thing about the data product delivery process, it's like a supply chain, a data supply chain. We've got business people starting off the process, thinking about the commercial value of this product, and then there's a whole group of other people that then get involved throughout that process. So it's an orchestration of those people. And as Thibaut says, it's a process from ideation through to delivery. And when you're sort of building anything, whether it be a house or a data product, great. We bring in the architects. That's what their job is, to take those woolly ideas and harden them up into something that can be delivered. And everybody, the business people and the different groups, can all see the design and get involved in the approval process and make changes to it, etc.
Yeah, I love what both of you are saying in this because I've spoken to a number of people over the last couple of years where they firmly believe that data engineers will do all things to do with data products, and they're kind of missing out what we all clearly agree on is really key parts about making sure we get the right people together at every stage. So I think that's really, really useful. So clearly we wouldn't have invited Thibaut if the pair of you didn't already know each other and were working together. So I just wanted to ask you, so clearly ER Studio and Collibra are working together. So how do the two products work together to support data product delivery?
Yeah, so Thibaut and I have been working on this for quite a while, really sort of thinking through the processes. There's no sort of completely right process. Everyone's going to do it this way. So we've been talking about the different approaches that different companies will take, but there's some very common themes on sort of creation of the notion of the data products, and then going through the process of how do we capture the requirements for that, and that happens in Collibra, and then the data architect gets involved. The data architects with ER Studio can be crafting sort of domain models to sort of preempt the sort of the structure of the data for that different domain. We can sort of help out data stewards in Collibra by seeding a business glossary and pushing that over to Collibra, and the stewards take over. And then as we're then crafting designs for those data products, we can create data models, logical data models in ER Studio, and then push them across to Collibra against that data product so that they can go through an approval process in Collibra. And then off we go to the delivery side. So there's a tight integration between the two tools. It's not just an import from one to the other. We've got a sort of bi-directional synchronization going on, really sort of thinking about that process, that flow.
So making it seamless.
That's right.
Yeah. Seamless, and then making sure that all the time during that flow we bring in the collaboration. I mean, so we are sure that we don't get stuck, I mean, in the middle of the discovery, but we go down that road and making sure that at the end, all those governance, architecture, modeling efforts are meant to empower data analysts, engineers, analysts, the data consumers to actually go and build on top of existing data products.
Exactly. It's that efficiency and quality that data product delivery is all about. So getting the sort of the governance, getting the requirements right and the designs right done early as possible, and then getting Collibra to manage the overall flow to make sure everything is delivered efficiently.
Yeah, and I think I liked what you were saying there, Thibaut, about perhaps working on an existing data product, because I did a masterclass with Collibra coincidentally last week, and we were discussing data products. And one of the questions that came in afterwards from the audience was, how do you govern this proliferation of data products? And that, Jamie's asked you for a data product that you've delivered, and then I go, wow, I like that one. Can I have that, but just a little bit different like this? And I think what you were just describing there, Thibaut, was that kind of, we can evolve the current one. We don't have to just create hundreds of data products that are all similar but not quite the same.
So definitely not. I mean, part of the data product topic is like also to reduce the quantity, to boost the quality, right? Making sure that you have smart interfaces on top of which you can build, right? It's about interoperability, obviously, but it's also about collaboration from different teams. You don't want thousands of data products, or maybe rarely in some companies, but really like very well defined ones. If you need to add a column, try to and some piece of information, try to add that to an existing one. And then the question will be about how you version them, how you make the data contract a new one in your collaboration with the others. Those are things that architects, data product owners can do using existing tool to upgrade data product from this initial release to something that is the next step.
Yeah, no, that sounds really, really valuable, because I think that the person who asked the question, and I can understand that, is that you kind of, there's a fear we're going to get a proliferation of data products to replace our proliferation of spreadsheets that are all slightly different. And this is why we argue about how many customers we have, because your spreadsheet is different than Jamie's and different again from mine. So I think that's really valuable that we remind people they need to focus on that. It's not just a case of creating thousands of data products. It's making sure we create the right ones and update existing ones.
The architects can really help as well. So we might have thousands of data products with the same information, but we want to make sure it is genuinely the same information. And the way we deliver those data products might differ from organization to organization, but at the core of it, the architecture should be the same. If we've got data products with a notion of customer in, it's the same notion with the same identifiers, the same language, the same policies and rules around it.
Yeah, no, that is really, really useful. So I think you've both given the listeners an awful lot to think about, and really good things. But as my listeners know, I really like to make this podcast practical and giving people actionable advice. So I just wondered if I could ask you both to share, some advice for people who perhaps are just starting out in data products. I don't know. Do you want to go first, Thibaut?
Yeah, I can. And I guess based on what we said, and because there are many pieces of advice, right, that can be shared here, but I would pick one, which is like, not everything is data product. It's an important topic, one that you should push and that you should aim for. There are many, many benefits there, but not everything is data product. If I were to start, for example, BI reports, let's not consider them as data products, right? Let's focus on the code. I heard some company trying to do that, but then it means that business users, less technical users, they have to learn about a new topic. So I would really consider like splitting them up, having two distinct kind of things rather than trying to, push everything back to data products.
I think that is such an important point, Thibaut, because I have had people say to me, well, yeah, we've already got data products. We've had reports from the analytics team for years. So that's a really great point. Thank you. And Jamie, what's your piece of advice?
So for this session, I think make sure that your data product delivery process is business driven. As Thibaut says, these products have got to have value. Not everything is a technical thing, but business driven. There you go.
Excellent. Oh, it has been fabulous talking to you both. It has been such an interesting conversation. And I think one of the key messages is this must be business driven and it must be end to end. And it's not all on the poor data governance team, but they have an important part to play, as do the data architects and our business users, because they're going to be the ones consuming this at the end of the day. So thank you both so much. It's been wonderful having you both on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Same here. Thank you so much and hope we speak again soon.
Absolutely. I hope you enjoyed listening to that as much as I enjoyed talking to Jamie and Thibaut. I really found that there was some really practical advice to help you get started on your data product journey, and perhaps if you've already started it, things you really need to be considering. So I do hope if you're at all interested in data products, and to be fair, who isn't these days, that you will join me back here next week where Jamie is joining me once again, and we're going to continue our data product delivery conversation. And next week, we're going to be joined by Darren Lacey from Microsoft. I do hope I'll see you then.